You're listening to WRFG 89.3 FM, and we have a very special guest here in the studio with us, Mr. James Edwards, somebody that's not a stranger to radio in Atlanta and not a stranger to Atlanta in general. He's been around Atlanta a very long time, and we used to hear him daily, I think, on WCLK. Was it daily or weekly?
Not quite. It was weekly, sometimes twice a week.
Okay, well, at least weekly on WCLK, playing the best jazz around. And it's a pleasure to finally get you to the WRFG studio.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, Abdul. It's good to see you. You're looking good, too. Looking great.
Well, I try to take care of myself, but you definitely take care of yourself. No question about it. No question about it. So, what have you been doing since we haven't heard you on the airwaves?
Well, basically, I took early retirement because I was a graphic artist for many years. My career was that of a graphic artist. And I took early retirement, and I did a lot of drawing and painting and freelancing, and I also continued to do radio on weekends, just like always. And but lately, I've been trying to concentrate on my art, and also concentrate on something that we're doing at my church, which is First Congregational Church. And I'll tell you about that if you're ready. First Congregational Church
is a household name around here because they do so many great things. The church does.
We do a lot of things, and sometimes I think too many. But the church campus it's just buzzing all day long, every day, Monday through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But what I'm here this morning to talk with you about is First Friday at First, and this is a jazz event. It's held on the first Friday of each month, and it is part of the overall music ministry of First Congregational Church. It begins at 6 p.m. at the Commons, which is located on the campus of First Congregational Church at 125 Ellis Street, Northeast Atlanta 30303. Most of the musicians involved in this event either live in or near Atlanta, so we're sort of limited as to what we can offer. But we're in our 6th year now. We started in 2013, and our facilitator is Reverend Dwight Andrews, who you know is a very good Atlanta musician,
minister,
and professor at Emory University.
Exactly.
And one thing you may not know about him is he was the musical director for playwright August Wilson.
Oh, so excellent.
And I'm sure you've seen him on many occasions, because it's hard not to see him. He's a very busy person.
Very busy.
Yeah. But our coming up event, our event that'll be coming up is a percussionist who leads his own jazz ensemble. His name is Chris Burroughs. Are you familiar with him?
I am not.
Okay.
But there are a number of people that I am not familiar with these days, because the city has grown and more musicians come to the city, and I don't get acquainted with them right away.
I hear you. Well, Chris Burroughs, basically, he's a jazz drummer, and he'll be leading his own jazz group for us on Friday, July 6th. And he's been playing drums since he was 4 years old. He's a very confident musical visionary whose playing it's kind of eclectic. You'll hear frequent Afro-Cuban accents in his playing, and he plays almost with the power of a rock drummer, except he's a jazz drummer. Basically, that seems to be the center of his playing. And he has performed throughout the United States, Europe, Japan, and Australia. He has performed with Dee Dee Bridgewater, Liz Wright, Russell Gunn, and Jennifer Holliday, just to name a few. So he'll be our next artist.
Oh, excellent. And does he travel? Does he play with a quartet?
Well, we never really know how many musicians are going to show up.
That's great,
because that's we never really. with our budget being what it is, we work these musicians into when they've got some spare time.
Right.
And sometimes they will show up with people in their group that could actually be headlining the event.
Right.
We've had that happen on several occasions. But basically, from what I've heard online, I'm guessing he'll have about 5 pieces.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
And you said it starts at 6
It
p.m.?
starts at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And 6 p.m., the people like myself who are retired, it's not a problem for us, but we also have a lot of people to show up at our event that are working people.
Mm.
And at 6 p.m., most people are either thinking about or in the process of having some dinner.
Right, right.
So we do provide dinner, and it's at a very modest cost.
Oh, excellent.
When we first started this event, there was kind of a debate as to whether or not it would be a dinner event. We all concluded that if it were not a dinner event and it were 6 p.m., many people would either be late for the event or would miss it entirely.
Exactly, exactly, because the stomach will growl. And they
Yes.
don't want the stomach growling while the music's playing.
That's true. And one of the things that I've noticed about the musical landscape of Atlanta, Abdul, is when I first moved here decades ago, if we had good jazz musicians here in Atlanta, there was this guessing game as to how soon we would lose them.
Mm.
Well, I'm noticing they're staying longer now.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point, we have 4 excellent jazz pianists in Atlanta at this very moment. Gary Motley, Tyrone Jackson, Louis Hariveau, Kevin Bales.
Mm.
When I first moved to Atlanta, that was not going to happen. You'd have 1 or 2 of them at one time, and then somebody would move away.
Yeah.
So I'm very encouraged as far as the musical landscape of Atlanta, and the fact that musicians are making this a place that they would consider staying for a while. That excites me.
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, Atlanta's a good place to live, and if you're raising a family, you can do that here. And also, as I said earlier, I think the fact that more and more people come to Atlanta, you've got more people that came with different musical taste than what was here.
Yes.
The decades ago that you speak of.
Yes.
So that's a great thing.
Well, one thing that happens almost on a daily basis is in conversation with people when I tell them that I attend First Congregational Church. Oh, that's that jazz church. Well, yes and no. Yeah, they're correct. But we're a Christian church, but we use jazz as a way of, professing our faith and praising our God.
It's a good communication too.
Yeah, and last time I checked, there's no rules that say you can only praise God with choral music or gospel. In my book, it doesn't say you have to leave out jazz. So
Right.
we have a very good time with that, and we have a good time with the discussions that evolve around jazz music, sacred music, and secular music. That usually starts a pretty interesting conversation.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. And how long have you been working with the program?
I've been a member of this church in February, it'll be 10 years.
Wow.
So I've been a member of the church for 9 years. This program, I was a member in its inception, which was 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
The people who run the program, we're 12 members of the church. Our president is Becky Spencer, and she's not retired like some of the others of us. She is our president, and she sits and runs our meetings and transcribes the meetings on her laptop at the same time.
Busy person.
Yeah, and we have duties. Everybody has a specific duty, but the thing is, with 12 people, many of them travel. The night of the event, our assignments can change instantly.
I see.
And Becky, the president of our organization, you might see her taking a plate to a table or taking the tickets at the door.
Well, it's always good to be flexible and
Yeah.
and know where all of the parts fit, so
Yeah.
that if somebody fall here, you can pick it up there.
Yeah, Reverend Andrews, our facilitator of our group, you may see him making the announcements for the group during the intermission.
I see.
So it's kind of a take it as you find it sort of night, and it's a fun night too. It really is. Some of the musicians that have played at our event, when the evening is over, they often want to know, "Oh, you think you might book me next year?"
Excellent, excellent. That's always good to want to come back. Have musicians want to come back.
And something I wanted to throw in, closely linked to First Friday at First, Reverend Andrews has started a program called Jazz and Spirituality. And I love this because it's the following morning. It's Saturday morning at 9:30 after our event. It's every Saturday morning, but the Saturday morning after the event, it's sort of like this whole weekend is going to be a jazz suite. But it starts at 9:30, and many of the people who attend First Friday are starting to attend Jazz and Spirituality.
I see.
We have covered the spiritual lives of people like Dave Brubeck, John Coltrane recently, Yusef Lateef, Mary Lou Williams. And these are people that used their musical ability as kind of an instrument for their faith, especially John Coltrane.
Yeah,
we
in
spent
fact-
more time on him than any of the others.
In fact, I've just been seeing there's a new album that's coming out.
Yes.
Some lost tapes that were
Yes.
they were sort of lost. They weren't completely lost, but I understand there's some very spiritual music on those on this new release.
I heard rumors of this release 50 years ago. I'm giving my age away, but one of my jazz buddies in college told me that this existed. And the first thing I thought was, how do you know?
yeah.
Well, it turns out he was right. I wish he was still with me today so that I could tell him he was right.
Yeah.
But this is one that was, I think it was, the recording we're talking about was sandwiched in between Coltrane on Impulse and another
Crescent.
one called Crescent.
Right.
So on the day that it is released, which is only a couple of weeks from now, I'm sure Amazon is going to explode.
Yep, a number of people can't wait to get their hands on it. Okay, once again, First Friday at First.
Yes, First Friday at First. It's held on the first Friday of every month. We don't do it all 12 months.
I was just about to ask that. Was it
No.
a seasonal thing?
Well, we do it 10 out of the 12 months. We don't do one in January,
Okay,
and we also do not do one in December.
I understand.
And that's because we have jazz events at the church that are held in those months. So we try to take those 2 months to do a little bit more planning. And
But
just
it's basically a year-round
Yes.
event.
Yes. The other part of our jazz ministry at our church is our third Sunday. The third Sunday of every month, we have something called the Third Sunday Band. These are musicians. Several of them are members of our church and several are not. But the music during that particular Sunday service is jazz music. And you'll hear things that are basically you can identify as jazz. You may hear John Coltrane's Spiritual, for example,
I see.
or something else called Dear Lord,
Yes.
Song for My Father, things like that. This takes place on the third Sunday, which is a Sunday that we normally see a lot of faces in the church that we normally don't see.
I see. Well, it's great to finally get you here in the studio, and it's great that you have such great information for us. Once again, not only tell us again what time it takes place, but how we can find out more information about it.
Yes, and the time again is 6 p.m. and it's on the first Friday of each month. The first Friday of each month, except except January and December. It will be held in the Commons, which is on the campus of First Congregational Church. And as soon as I find ticket information, which I have right here, you can call the First Congregational Church office for information about the tickets and the ticket prices and all. You can call them, and the phone number of First Congregational Church should be on here somewhere, and here it is, 404-659-6255. That's the church number.
All right. One other thing, people often ask me about parking. What is the parking situation?
The parking situation is the church parking lot is open, but that's a paid parking lot, and there's a meter there. So you get out of your car, you walk to the meter, and you pay. And but another alternative to that is on the corner of, I think, Piedmont and Ellis. There is a lot called, I think it's called Care, and that is a free parking lot. And it's a free lot, and as soon as the event is over, you have until 9:30 to get your car out of there.
Okay.
So that's an option that many people choose, and it's only about 100-yard walk, if that long.
I see.
So there is usually ample parking.
Excellent.
About the room, basically, we're set up for about 160 people.
Nice setting.
We have had some events there that topped 200. And a moving of chairs here and there, but the room is designed. It has round tables, and at each table you can seat 10 people.
Oh, great.
The people who come to the event are jazz lovers. Many of them are people who sit down at their table, and in a few minutes they see somebody that they haven't seen in 20 years.
So they have to make their way over.
Yes.
Exactly.
But it's primarily a jazz audience. They talk before the event, they talk at intermission, but when the music is playing, they are quiet.
They're waiting to hear the sounds.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
so that tells you a little bit about our audience.
Well, I once again want to thank you for finally making it over to WRFG.
Oh, it's
and I want to thank you again for sharing this information about First Friday at First.
Absolutely, it's been my pleasure, and hopefully this will be the beginning of me making some more appearances.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. You have an open invitation to come back.
One of the things in closing, we often get asked, what kind of jazz do they play? Do you hear that a lot in your travels? What kind of jazz do you like?
Yeah, well, people. So many things have been defined as jazz these days. So,
and I asked you that because I'm considerably older than you. But when I was 13 and got into jazz, the question, "What kind of jazz do you like?" that question didn't exist then.
No, because everything wasn't being called jazz.
Exactly, that question didn't. But we have the kind of jazz that would be played in places like the Village Vanguard or the Village Gate or the Jazz Showcase in Chicago. That kind of jazz. I think, do they still use the term straight ahead?
Well, some people do. Some people don't know what that means.
I know. You and I do, but yeah. But that's the kind of jazz that you can expect to hear.
Excellent.
And occasionally we get lucky too. By that, when I say we get lucky, Reverend Andrews has jazz relationships with many people. So sometimes we can get somebody who doesn't quite fit into our budget, but because of Reverend Andrews and his travels and his professional work, we will land someone like the late Jerry Allen or somebody like vibes player Jay Hogarth.
Yeah.
So we get lucky every now and then.
Excellent.
And we will continue to do this as long as Atlanta needs it, which I think should be a long time.
All right. Well, once again, thank you for taking out some time and coming and making us aware.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you.